Up, everybody? Welcome to the Smoking Tire Podcast. This episode, like all of them, brought to you by Off the Record. We love Off the Record. I got 3 more emails this week from people who used Off the Record to save their little backsides in a court of law. Off the Record is a service that, were you to get a moving violation, big or small, connects you with an attorney in the jurisdiction where you got that ticket. Then they go to work on your behalf and they do everything they can to get those points off your record, or not on it in the first place, really. Man, they cover almost all of the U.S. and they have an unbelievable track record of getting people out of little sticky situations with their cars. Download the app and use code TSTPOD for 10% off all legal services with Off the Record. And if you prefer the web, go to offtherecord.com/TST. You'll get that same 10% off all legal services booked through Off the Record. Don't plead guilty. This, in fact, I swear, I've used Off the Record a whole bunch of times. I swear it is easier, faster, more efficient, and cheaper, and with much better outcomes to use Off the Record than just to plead guilty. It's all of everything about getting a ticket is improved with Off the Record. Use code TSTPOD on the app or offtherecord.com/TST on the web. We love you, Off the Record. Thank you for sponsoring our little program here. All right, on this episode, Kyle Connor is in studio. Do I know what we're going to talk about? Not exactly, because I'm recording this before he got here. But I'm guessing it's all the weird Chinese cars he's been driving, that huge multi-car EV cannonball he did, the state of the conversion to Tesla charge ports, full self-driving, and things of that nature. We love Kyle. He drives a lot of things. He has like 74 YouTube channels and counting. And he's here in town visiting us. So Kyle Connor of Out of Spec Everything on the Smoking Tire Podcast. Zach, tell me when we exist, please. We exist.
We're good.
I'm going to dive right in. How stupid is that plug holder on the back of the G-Wagon?
Dude, that is the dumbest.
Extremely the dumbest.
Why didn't they just put you can option a spare tire, but...
Can you?
Yes.
Why don't they just all have that?
And I can't, it's one way or another, but on the electric G, you can either, the like series ones that are not the press ones, get the spare tire only or the charger only. Like right now there's a production issue where you can only get one of the two.
Well,
yeah,
I hope
at the dealer.
I mean, I just looking out the window when I went to get my J&T. That's James May and tonic. We're drinking the blood of Christ on the rocks. But,
really good, by the way.
It is good, right? I looked down at your electric G-Wagon press car, and I saw the square on the back, the AirPods holder,
yes,
and went. And had a little shudder.
Yep, we all hate it. I've shown everyone how useless it is.
And that's really the only bad thing about that car, though, isn't it?
It's amazing.
The rest of it, pretty goddamn good.
I can't go anywhere without spinning around doing the G-turns.
Are you doing it on dry tarmac?
Yeah, maybe.
We were told explicitly to not do it on dry tarmac.
I was given 0 instructions.
Great. Fortunately for us, it pissed rain one day, and we had a parking lot that was so wet it looked like the Hollywood, like the water truck had come in, like the Twin Pines Mall and Back to the Future, and fucking wet that bitch down in a fucking September, California.
Isn't that the weirdest sensation though, to spin around at very high speed, like you're moving?
Yeah.
And I did it in a parking garage, and it, the echoing off the walls, and it just sounded like a disaster. It was amazing.
It is particularly delightful.
Yeah, it's very typical German engineering, solve electrical problems with mechanical solutions. 4 transfer cases, 4 low ranges for each motor. Or 1 for each.
This is the simplest solution.
Yeah, it's crazy.
We could not think of a simpler way to do it.
One of the battery guys was a viewer and messaged me on Twitter and was like, we designed this thing to run top speed down the Autobahn and fast charged for its entire life.
So that's an interesting thing, and I kind of want to circle back to that in a minute because there was a study that came out that said we've been testing batteries wrong, and so they're all going to last longer than we thought they were, which is good, actually.
It's what we're
Usually
seeing.
when someone says, there's a study that came out, it's like, here's how you're going to die.
Right.
You know? Like,
Never good results.
Yeah, no. It's almost always something bad. It's not like, hey, we undercounted this. You believe that?
Yeah, so if you want to dive into degradation...
No, wait. Let's finish the electric G-Wagon.
Okay.
I think that it's not only my favorite G-Wagon, but it's the only appealing electric Mercedes at all.
So I just I drove the 6-cylinder G for a while, and I was like,
Yeah.
it's fine. For 99% of G owners, who cares? It's a box on wheels, and it's going to look the part, does the thing. I couldn't go with the 6-cylinder personally. I would like G63 all day or electric G, which rocks. So it's really inefficient.
Yes.
It's like 1.9 miles per kilowatt hour if I'm being gentle on it.
Yeah, it's bad. It's really bad.
Yeah.
And when it's fully charged, the gauge is very optimistic. The gauge thinks you can do 260 or 270.
It's a 200-mile car.
If you're gentle.
Yeah. If you're in LA traffic, just bombing around the city. Like I left at Pasadena this morning at 90%, went to Irvine, and came here, and it's at like 45. Mm-hmm. And that's not much driving.
That's not a lot. When I took it off-roading, the base of the trail is about 54 miles from my house. And I left my house with 100%. And I got to the base of the trail at 66.
Yeah,
and I was
uphill,
like, "Whoa!" It is, but it was like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, the speed really affects it because its CDA value is abysmal.
Yeah,
but it's 116 kilowatt hours, so it's like for people out there, it's like a Cybertruck battery.
It's a huge battery.
Yeah, it's over 100 kilowatt hours,
which is amazing. Like from the outside, it's like, well, where'd you put it?
Well, yeah, exactly.
You can't really tell.
It's just like a normal G-Wagon. It drives so nice. The G-Roar actually isn't annoying.
I completely disagree.
Okay.
It was very annoying and very stupid. Imagine a G63 connected to a Subaru Outback CVT.
CVT, yeah, it is CVT.
That is not a good sound.
No, it's
called
perfect.
G-Roar.
Okay.
Why nobody like you do
Well, it
kind
stands
of
for Galanda Roar. That's why.
Yeah, sure. That solves everything.
That's funny, actually. Galan. It's Galandavor. It's not good.
No, so I'm typically against EV sounds 99% of the time, except for the 5N, which was cool. And that
which serves a function.
Yeah,
yeah.
That cured the boredom and was interesting on track, although it slows you down, so I don't know. And then this was cool with music ripping, and if you just go wide open, it sounds like there's something happening. I agree. I've turned it off. I'm an EV guy, so I like the silent experience. But
It's not just that it's silent. It's that almost all of these quote soundtracks are heinously bad, which when you consider, I mean, it's like cars versus phones. Like cars touchscreens are heinously bad when you consider what we can do with even the shittiest phone.
It's true, very true.
And the car sounds are heinously bad when you consider what even the most basic video game gets away with.
You're absolutely right. I just drove that Dodge Charger, which we won't talk about. But that
has an even dumber name for its sound. What's it called?
Fratsonic something,
Jesus
some bullshit.
Christ.
It was the worst thing I've ever driven all year. It was a terrible experience.
Things like that are why people are like, well, AI can't be worse than this. It's like, when that's what we're doing, yes, give it to the fucking robots.
So that was like, the sound in that one was like, imagine those old like 3-speed auto, sitting on torque converter, like 1984, 8 whatever liter V8, and it won't rev past like 3,000 RPM. So you're on a back road, just brrr, and I'm like, how is this engaging? Anyway, the G-Roar thing.
It's called idle sim. It idles all the time.
It's cool at low speed. Like that worked actually pretty well, but like not while moving. This is cool though. So what I didn't realize until today was that the front motors disconnect while cruising. You can't.
Oh, right.
Can't really feel it, but it doesn't have a clutch disconnect. It uses the reduction gearbox to physically disconnect the front motors.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And I'm like, wow, that's great integration, actually. So anyway, I love it.
It's executed extremely well, but then also, like, it's still really inefficient. But it is very pleasant. and the only thing that I actually really that kind of bothered me about it, other than the AirPods case on the back, which is so off-roading was so stressful with no spare tire.
Yeah,
especially
that is true.
This one looks like it's on the same like whatever tires.
Yeah, it's on the whatever EV tire thing.
So very much recommend like a -10, -15.
Yeah, we'll air
PSI.
it down. I took it off-roading, and I didn't air it down only because it was just a short trail to get to a thing, and I was like avoiding every pointy rock.
It made a difference. We could we could feel the difference, and my stress level about blowing a tire. You know, Johnny blew a tire.
Yeah, I know.
While off-roading.
Yeah, and he had to hitchhike or something to get back.
Stranded out there.
That was the first thing I posted this, and he texted me, and he's like, "Bro, don't go off-road without a spare."
Although it actually would have been kind of sick to get stranded, because as we came down the mountain, we saw over on the right where Johnny had to ditch his car. There was like 2 Raptors on like big tires and a Hummer EV, and I'm like, damn, like someone like Rico Suave is out here playing. And later in the day, I saw it was Danny Ricciardo and like some other Jesus Christ. Another comedian and a musician, like they were all fucking riding dirt bikes out there. I was like, I get stranded with them guys, it'd be all right.
That's cool.
Danny, I'll take a ride home from Danny Ricciardo.
Yeah, so G's cool. It's very, very does all the G stuff you want it to do. Taking it out to the desert tomorrow, which will be fun. And
Yeah, so you said you're going to Joshua Tree.
Yeah,
That's it's far.
it's like 3 hours.
It's really far.
That's not far.
I guess for you that's not far.
That's
For a regular person, that's really far.
Okay, yeah, I don't mind it. It's on this side of the planet.
But you said you were going specifically to test Rivian's charging stations.
Yeah, Rivian built what they're calling an outpost. It's their first ever one, and it's like this experience thing while charging in the middle of whatever.
Rivian. It's like a cowboy saloon themed.
Yeah, absolutely. And they're going to build a bunch of these. And
Rivian, everything they do is it is like that.
Yeah,
everything Rivian does is fucking themed.
I know. I love it. I really love it.
Good cars, but goddamn, are they hokey sometimes?
Yeah, they're hokey. It's you know what this is? This is YouTube gold for me. You know
Holy
this video
shit! That looks like in the inside. It looks like a Goop store. It looks
all I see is great YouTube video in the middle of nowhere, and I can't wait to go and film it.
Yeah.
And it's the first Rivian station that was open to all cars.
Okay.
So that's kind of cool. They have a new dispenser.
They 350s?
They are 300 kilowatt max output.
I haven't seen a 300 yet.
Maybe 350. That's what I'll find out tomorrow. It's a slightly adapted thing.
Enjoy a complimentary cup from Josh. Free coffee's good. Purchase some trail mix.
Oh, purchase snacks. They're not giving away
There's
snacks.
a 24-hour restroom. You'll find the code in the Rivian app, so you may be able to charge your non-Rivian, but if you want to take a shit, you better be writing a check to Rivian Financial, baby.
R1S owners only.
That's what the S stands for.
There's going to be an asterisk next year that like R3 owners not count. They don't count.
You know what? Perks come with the higher spec models.
I mean, look, I'm joking. It does look nice, but it's also very thematic.
It's perfect for YouTube, baby.
Yeah.
I love it. I can't wait to film it. It's going to be a huge video. Watch 3 people watch it. I don't know.
Yeah, it looks like a nice place to wear athleisure and have something with avocado in it.
I filmed another charging station yesterday in Santa Ana that had a Gelson's. Is that what they're
famous
called?
for its wins? That had a Gelson's?
Yeah.
Grocery store?
Like a nice one. It's like an Air one, I guess. Or maybe
No.
not quite. I don't know.
Gelson's is like halfway between a Ralph's and a Whole Foods.
Oh, everyone was telling me like Gelson's really fucking nice.
It is nice.
Okay. It looked really good in there.
Gelson's is like probably Whole Foods level produce, but without Whole Foods pretentiousness and no Jeff Bezos.
Oh, okay. So it's
like
actually
all good things.
Good for the thing. And
Yeah,
it was
it's
awesome.
harder to steal from though.
Yeah. So they had 40 chargers.
Wow.
And it was awesome. It was like a big park, and you could do your shopping, car wash, vacuums, air pressure.
No, that's all right.
That's
In
what we
Santa
need.
Ana?
They're building 10 in the LA area,
Okay.
which will be like amazing.
Oh, that's
'cause
pretty cool.
Charging sucks here.
Guys, got to take a quick break because today's episode is brought to you by NordVPN. Oh boy, do I love NordVPN, and I'm so happy to have them back. Online privacy and security has never been more important, and the details of what you do on the internet and where you're doing it from need to be yours alone. I wish there was a VPN for connected cars, actually, but at least we have one for our phones, our mobile, digital devices, and computers. You've got to be on a VPN when using the internet, and Nord is the best one. It's more than just the VPN itself. It's a complete system to keep your data on the internet protected. Nord comes with features like Threat Protection Pro, which offers advanced protection from malware, phishing scams, and other online threats. Are you downloading a file? Threat Protection Pro checks if it's malware. Clicking a link, Threat Protection Pro blocks websites that are fake, malicious, or used for phishing, fraud, or scams. Annoyed by pop-ups constantly flooding your screen? Threat Protection Pro blocks ads for a smooth browsing experience. Online shopping? You shop online, so do we all. Don't pretend you don't. Falling for a fake shopping scam designed to mimic legitimate outlets. There's plenty of websites luring in the unwary with promises of discounts or rare items. But guess what? Regular VPNs don't protect you against fake web stores, but Threat Protection Pro does. In fact, NordVPN was ranked third in AV Comparative's Fake Shop Detection Test in 2024, beating many other premium cybersecurity tools. So, go to HTTPS or hit the link in the description, but also HTTPS nordvpn.com/TST. That's nordvpn.com/TST. And then use code TST to get a 2-year plan plus 4 additional months with a huge discount. It's risk-free with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. That's code TST at nordvpn.com/TST. 30-day money-back guarantee. And thank you to NordVPN for sponsoring today's episode. Let's get back to it.
It really sucks to drive an electric car here, unless you have home charging.
It sucks to drive an electric car here relying on the public network.
Yeah,
driving an electric car here, if you can charge at home or work, is a vastly superior experience.
Totally.
I'm a huge fan I really, really love driving electric cars around Los Angeles compared to almost any gas car. But except in dynamic situations, I prefer gas cars to almost any electric car.
Don't disagree with you there at all. Yep.
Yeah, but we have an R1S right now, the the new one, which I was very excited to drive, and I go, God, this is going to turn into an expensive week because my wife and I need a new electric car, and I'm like,
Mach-E's gone then?
Yeah, back in April.
Okay.
But right now, top of the pack for replacement. Yeah. But I go, I have a feeling we're gonna drive this, and we're gonna want a Rivian.
Yeah, so what do you think?
They do some things really, really well. But I do not want one. No, I've taken the last couple of fucking months or two such a dive off a cliff away from touchscreens.
Really,
and this is an all touchscreen experience, and I just can't get behind it.
I mean, look, that's why they make different cars. But I love it. So I have 60,000 miles almost on my Rivian. I have an early one, a launch R1T, and that thing has been the best single item I've ever spent money on. It's so good. It's just reliable.
That's good.
It's fast. It's, it looks right. I mean, in Colorado, it's perfect. You don't look like an ass rolling up in the Cybertruck, which, I tinted the windows on ours so no one sees us in there.
That's funny.
And, I love the Cybertruck, too. You reviewed mine a while ago.
Yeah.
And so...
I didn't want to, but I did.
Do you have differentials yet now?
Yep.
All right.
Locking diff.
What about your light bar?
Well, I got that.
You did? Okay.
Yeah.
Is there anything left on the list that you still haven't gotten?
I don't think anymore. I think I got everything I paid for. It only took 9 months. It was like trickling in. And every time it goes for service, like Tesla adds stuff that I'm like, oh, wow, new motor. They replaced my entire... Cybertrucks are lunching motors, the early ones, left and right.
Really?
Do they know why?
It's really a problem. I don't know. But they replaced mine preemptively for engineering.
They're all on Turo.
It could be. I don't know. But they did an engineering study, and I got one of the first new motors, and then maybe I'll have to do it
because on the sly, 90% of them are rentals.
Yeah, it could be. Especially around here.
Yeah. Around here they're just. It's just the level. I actually think the purchasing of them has gone off a cliff because we got to a point where we started to see 5 to 10 a day and then it really sort of just froze there.
And then you still only see 5
and
to
then
10 a day.
and there's no further. I mean, there was just another story that I saw that was like pretty much. I mean, they said they were polishing.
Yeah, I was going to bring that up.
Foundation Series badges off some trucks. I can't back that up. I don't know if that's true or not.
It came from a fairly reputable source.
But
Yeah.
I mean. But back
why
when
would you buy one of those now? Because they're $20,000 more. You don't get anything.
Yeah.
So you would just buy a normal one, not the. They made us pay more so we could make content with it. Basically, that's all it was.
Yours comes with a commercial filming permit. It's the only thing that was actually delivered with the truck. Funnily enough,
It's like Tesla's really good at screwing over their early customers, and those are the people that love them the most.
It's really funny.
It's really
What do you
weird.
call something that just takes advantage of their most fervent supporters
Starts with an
over
A
and over?
ends with abusive relationship.
So weird. It's on the tip of my tongue. No, wait. We had started down something with the
Touch
G-Wagon,
screens.
and we wanted to come back to it. We veered away from it.
Damn.
Shit. Well, we'll circle back. Okay.
G-Wagon,
So
Shuckle Mountain. I don't know.
you've been driving a bunch of Chinese shit. I want to talk about not shit, like just crazy Chinese stuff.
I mean, some of it's shit. Some of it's incredible.
Yeah.
Some of it is next level.
And do we want it? Do we trust it? Should we have it? Should we not have it?
I think we should have it,
Yeah.
but I don't know if we should trust it.
Right. Like I saw
Some of them come with camera covers from the factory. And I'm like, that sends an interesting message.
Yeah.
You know how they have like the selfie cam? Like BMWs
Yeah.
have them now. They literally...
like the driver monitoring cameras.
No, that's separate. But they have like an interior monitor where you can like log into your app and see...
Oh, like a security camera.
Yeah.
Oh,
Or like
okay.
if I put my dog in our Model 3 or whatever, it will show up. I can like log in and see what they're doing in the car, which is a great feature. But they have camera slider covers now in some of these cars. And I'm like, wow, that's interesting from the factory.
Yeah.
That there must be enough of a user base to not trust whatever's going on.
Right.
To want the
See, you know
cover.
what's so funny? It's like people. So apparently that the distrust of what's happening with data is validated enough that they're putting that in the car.
Yeah, exactly.
What's really funny is like in America, we are now just letting like Google and Amazon in our car,
whatever you
and
want.
there is
Yeah.
absolutely zero reason to think that they're doing anything remotely less malicious with our shit than the Chinese government.
Yep,
You know what I
totally.
mean? Like they're basically treating our data exactly as China and whoever the fuck, quote China. It's like it's so. Imagine being in China and be like, and America's taking who? America? What? No, Amazon.
Yeah.
Google. They're taking your fucking data, not China or not America. Companies.
Dude, it's actually really insane. So yeah, these Chinese cars, we drove everything from an $8,000 brand new Wuling Bingo.
The Wuling Bingo.
A Wuling Bingo, which is like I think
I won there in '86. Got $57 in a case of Heine's.
This thing's pink. It's got 4 wheels. It actually moves under its own power. Alyssa was driving it around today, and it was hilarious.
Well, $8,000. Your competition typically has 2 wheels. So if you have 4 wheels, can you get a photo of a Wuling Bingo?
Bingo. It has some GM funding behind it because it's SAIC, I think. And,
When you Google that, the first thing that comes up is a ball of
I spelled it
WU.
wrong.
it's that first option there. Yeah.
Yes, you transliterated that entirely wrong. Okay, Binguo.
So we had
the Binguo.
We had the fully spec'd one. It was $12,000.
Is that what we're looking at here? Give or take.
Yeah, it looked just like that. but pink.
There is zero difference between this and a $28,000 Fiat 500.
Yeah, it is literally a 500 described over the telephone, and you are now have a Wuling Bingo.
Yeah, it looks like somewhere between a little Nissan Leaf and a Fiat 500, but with Genesis headlights and bumpers.
It's like the size of a Mirage, but like huge trunk. Actually, it feels extremely unsafe to be in it. It feels like if the wind blows, the doors are going to
Really?
come in. Yeah, I mean
Okay.
it's really meant for urban.
Sure.
driving. It's max speed of 60 miles
it's
an hour.
$8,000. It's competing with it's a neighborhood
cart.
electric vehicle.
Yeah, but
yeah,
think
yeah.
about like lithium golf carts are more than that here. So,
Yes.
and this is a car with airbags and software.
Dude, I just found out what a moke costs.
Oh, I know.
Do you
They're
know
extremely
Do
expensive.
you know what one of those things costs?
I just reviewed one. It was I can't remember. It was like $30-something thousand. What was it?
It's
Yeah.
It's like it starts with a 2 or a 3.
Right.
Like
the top
it's
one were low threes.
shockingly
And
expensive.
it drives terribly.
Well, it looks like it's made of I-beams. It's insane.
It's really bad. I drove also a pink one of those for a video.
Yikes, of course.
Yep.
I mean, dude, that looks like it was built for Top Gear. Like, that is literally looks like it was built by Jeremy Clarkson after he said, cue the music. Like, that's so bad.
So the Wuling drives way better than that. I
Okay,
can make
good.
the comparison now that I've
All right,
extensively
okay.
tested both.
Yeah, for a quarter of the price.
And this makes more power and has more range. This is like a 33 kilowatt hour LFP pack, 10 to 80 in 29, 30 minutes. Like, it's not bad.
Oh, it has DC fast charging?
It has DC
for $8,000?
charging.
I would
And-
not trust that.
And 11 kilowatt AC charging, which like some electric big electric cars have like 9 kilowatt charging. So it's like actually fairly impressive. So we started there and we worked all the way up to seriously a world class car. Not even joking. It's the Xiaomi SU7. And
Now, is that
that's
the
the
one
sedan.
that had total brake failure on the track?
yes.
Yeah, okay, cool. Just checking.
Yep.
But it also set the Nürburgring lap time record.
That
right?
was that's the Ultra version. The Max, which is not the Max. The Max is the mid trim.
Yeah.
The Ultra is the big one. The one we drove was like Model 3 performance competitor.
Sure.
For roughly the same money, a little bit less. Incredible interior materials. Actually drove really nice. Brakes are a problem. Definitely a problem.
I saw a post, and I don't know if it could be verified, that the brakes were actually sort of allegedly like fraudulent. Like they were.
So they look huge from the outside.
like it has a huge, like a 10-piston
Yes.
cover on like a single piston caliper.
Yeah, I think they are technically 4-piston, but it's like this much surface material and this much brake.
That's kind of crazy.
Yeah,
It
I
does
think-
look like a Taycan. It's like, hey, Chat GPT, make me a Taycan with a McLaren Artura nose on it,
Yes.
and a Hyundai Ioniq or a Hyundai Elantra NS, right? Give or
So
take.
It's even got some Taycan stuff with the running light. It's the interior, like the perforation pattern is identical to Porsche. The steering wheel material, like the look is slightly off, but when you grab the wheel, it's a Porsche wheel. It's unbelievable.
So they're still ripping off.
But if you're gonna
Western
rip someone off-
no, I get it, but they're just finding much more subtle ways to do it, as opposed to literally making like a fake X5 or a fake Mini or a fake Lexus.
Right. So in general, I would
That
say
was the brake.
Yeah. So that brake is an issue. They have to fix that. There were also some other quality issues with the car for the initial one. Let's just be totally real here for a second. This is a car that is in an extremely competitive environment for sales. It got 100,000 pre-orders. They're $850 pre-order. It wasn't like $100 each, and they did that in 24 hours. So there was a lot of interest for this car.
Yeah, but like interest and quality are not the same thing. The
Yeah.
Cybertruck proves that.
Yeah, you're totally right. But
Well-
the quality here, other than the brakes, was incredible.
Why do you think there was so much interest in this car? What do you think it was about this that captivated people over other ones?
So Xiaomi's like this huge conglomerate of tech. They make like everything from washing machines to amazing cell phones. So imagine if like Apple, or
Yeah.
at least the Apple car, it's kind of like that.
Lendl Global, we're in everything. No other guys reference? Okay, never mind. Sorry.
So
Some 3 people out there are like, he did another guy's reference. Sorry.
never even heard of it.
The other guys?
Yeah, never heard of it.
Mark Wahlberg, Will Ferrell.
I don't
It's
watch
a
movies.
fucking awesome movie. Oh yeah, you've never seen movies,
Yeah.
right?
So every reference is whoop.
That I do like the steering wheel. I mean, the general design of that interior is nice. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's really a nice car. And the crazy. So most Chinese cars have, in the past, like a lot of tech features, a lot of fast processor, and then shit chassis dynamics, and brakes for sure, and the weird powertrain and tuning and stuff. This, while it wasn't completely as well sorted as some cars that we get to drive, was like really close.
Okay.
And I'm like, wow, finally I drove like I've driven every BYD, every Neo, and they're like, 80% of the way there from a driving standpoint to convince you they're like good enough, but clearly you can tell they were developed in simulation
Right.
and not really tested and adapted afterwards. This feels like there were actually some test drivers who gave a shit and dialed it in.
Yeah, that one guy gave a shit right into the fucking wall, didn't he?
Dude, it snapped
Woo!
the seat in half backwards. It was a huge hit.
But I respect your restraint in looking at that photo of that brake and saying that needs to be addressed, as if that's not malicious. Like, that's literally like putting a giant brake caliper cover that says Brembo on it over what looks like a motorcycle pad. That's malicious.
Yeah, totally.
Like, that's fraud.
I'm not against you at all. I'm with you, and that's actually it's in our video too. That I was like, this is bullshit.
That's crazy. And this is how much power?
Yeah. So I mean, I haven't been reviewing cars as long as you have been, but my strategy, or at least theory, is I try to review the subcomponents, the subcategories individually, and I try not to let one thing affect the other thing. But yeah, that's a real problem. And even driving it on the street, you feel the brake issue.
Right. Okay. So you're saying, okay, I try to say, all right, the power is this, the handling is this,
in general, I try
which
to
is
be
fine.
like,
You can have your style. I don't care.
Yeah. I mean,
but I'm just saying, like, look, if that photo is real, that's pretty goddamn egregious.
It's crazy, especially because the CEO of this company, I don't know his name or anything, but I know he's a huge car enthusiast. And to me, I'm like, if you're a car enthusiast, how can you let that make it to production? That just seems crazy.
That's
the car, other than that single issue, is incredible.
Okay.
It drove really well. It had incredible software, great driver assistance, looks great, feels great. Everything about that was like, oh, damn. And to think that 2 years ago, this company made cell phones.
Well, they skipped over making good internal combustions. They didn't have to spend all that time.
Yep.
We built up our industry around internal combustion, as did, Europe and most of Asia. And so they just got to skip over that.
Speaking of brakes, there's a cool feature that a lot of these Chinese cars has that I've never seen in a Western car, which is, when you're driving a typical car, you're on the brake pedal coming to a stop, and you always just lift off at the end to make a smooth stop. All of these Chinese cars have a smooth stop feature.
By the way, I hate when people don't do that.
Right, because
drives me fucking nuts.
It's every Uber driver.
Yeah. So it has an auto for that?
Yeah. And unless you're in emergency braking, then it doesn't do that. But if you're just cruising normally, every single one just smooth stops. I'm like, wow. That's
kind of nice. Guys, we got to take one more quick break for Aura frames. These things are so cool. Everybody in your family is not a technophile like Genius You, who listens to the Smoking Tire podcast. Like, let's just say your parents, right? Your uncle, they're older. They don't necessarily know how, Dropbox works per se, or things like that. Complicated file sharing systems. Here's what you do. You get the Aura frame, you send it to a person you love, and then you can upload unlimited photos and videos directly from your phone to that Aura frame, right? So you got kids, you want to send those photos to the grandparents, the uncles, etc. Aura frames is it. You just send them the frame, they set it up in their living room, and then photos of the kids just start coming in because you're dropping them in there. These are great holiday gifts. They make it easy to bring people closer together and keep up with the old ones, keep up with the young ones, keep up with the pets. We should do a Patreon, or we should do an Aura Frames Patreon.
We could do that. Make the Google Photos account and let them just go.
We should talk to Aura Frames and see if people buy, if patrons at a level get their own TST Aura frame. It's like a fully private Instagram, but like in your house and not on Instagram.
And we upload the photos.
Yeah, like we put photos, like
safer.
BTS photos in this. Yeah, that's actually a pretty good idea. We should talk to Aura Frames about this. Save on the perfect gift by visiting auraframes.com and get $35 off Aura's best-selling Carver matte frames by using promo code TIRE at checkout. That's AURA frames.com, promo code TIRE. This deal is exclusive to listeners, so get yours now in time for the holidays. Terms and conditions apply. And now, back to the show.
It's actually really cool.
Is it?
Yeah.
But this is we're on the brake caliper at this point. We're not talking about like regen shit.
Correct. So the way most of them do their braking is they target, the sort of the brake controller handles between regen and friction, whatever it can grab from either, and then it targets the deceleration profile, and then just chooses a really nice one. At least in this. Some of them were tuned bad. I think I saw a commercial that it was one of the suppliers that did it. It was like a Bosch or something that did the brake booster, and I thought it was really nicely tuned and thought, okay, we should get that in some of our cars. Because some people drive like shit and don't come to a smooth stop.
It would be an interesting thing to be able to. I imagine you can toggle it on and off if you want, right? Yeah, as long as you can turn it off, like that would be a nice thing to have.
The settings are crazy in all these cars. They let you adjust everything.
Right. What was the weirdest adjustment you saw?
I drove this IML6, which is a brand new Tesla Model 3 competitor.
It's pronounced IML6.
The LS6 is the SUV version, but it's basically the same thing. It has actually one of the first semi-solid.
Is this from the same company as that other super cheap car? It looks like it is.
I think they're both under SAIC, but different company. IM is its own brand.
It looks exactly like the same. Doesn't it look the same family of car?
No, I think it's different. Yeah,
they're all weirdly odd because we're not used to seeing them, so it's like hard to distinguish things. I think that's been my issue. This one is just a normal, like $40,000 electric sedan, but it has crab walk.
And what purpose is that supposed to serve?
Zero. It's just fun.
Okay.
If you got rear steer, let it go sideways. Like when I drive Hummer EV, I crab walk everywhere because it's hilarious.
That is the only purpose of that vehicle.
It's just to be stupid and have fun. But that was cool that like a random sedan had stuff like this. It also has like a full track mode. I'm like, no one's taking this thing to the track. Dude, they let you like pre-chill the drivetrain, adjust the power split. I'm like,
track mode is a little silly. I don't like what they're doing with these wheels though. These painted inner wheel sidewalls. What can we call those? The insides of the cutouts of the wheels are painted.
Yeah, don't know how to
two-tone.
describe
I'm not into that.
The crazy thing with these are the charging performance. So we're like 400 or 500 kilowatts normal in China. Just completely normal.
Is that? Well, how do we get there?
Yeah, we're not far away from it. So they're choosing power dense cells. They're also getting sort of semi-solid state and right on the cusp of a mass-produced solid-state battery, which means the sort of the electrolyte allows the free flow of electrons through.
Does that? So I read over, and I admittedly, electricity is a weak point for me, and I've put a lot of time into like learning what shit means and trying to say the thing right for years. And we've been hearing, okay, when solid-state batteries here, when solid-state batteries here, when solid-state batteries here, what specifically are solid-state batteries going to make better about the car?
Yeah, that is a tough one. There's a few benefits and a few downsides. The downsides right now are the longevity of the cell because when you have a solid state connecting with the anode and the cathode, and there's some like anode-free batteries that are starting to come. I'm not a cell expert at all, but if you can make them manufacturable in high quantities and last a long time, you have a complete fire safety, sort of solved. Because the electrolyte is really that gel material is very flammable. And my understanding is they'll be extremely safe from a fire standpoint.
Because the gel doesn't spread and go all over the place.
Right, you won't have a thermal event then. And also, basically the free flowing of electrons between the cell and hopefully less degradation would be the goal. Right now, that's the problem, is they work really well for a few hundred cycles, and then basically the new electrolyte material, the solid-state material, starts to lose connection with the anode and cathode, and you'll have a shorted cell, or you'll have an issue where you'll get like something called lithium dendrites that form that can like split through the cell. And so you have a bunch of little issues, and I'm not an expert at all, and I would really love to dig into this topic, but there's very few people who understand it.
I would love to as well, except we'd lose all of our advertisers.
Well, sure.
That's like the new. It's like oh, you wanted to talk about tires? Hold my beer.
Right.
Like gone. But we sort of are going to be forced to learn all this stuff, aren't we?
I'm fascinated by it. I think the charging performance, like Taycan charges really well because they went with a very expensive power dense cell rather than a sort of capacity dense cell.
Okay.
And so these are cells that are available, trade-offs automakers can go for. Do you want less overall capacity but with higher charging and discharging power, or more capacity with less charging performance, as an example? And so these are the trade-offs every automaker has to go through with just typical NMC, regular, I guess, wet batteries.
Yeah.
Non-dry.
You just made me think, and we'll come back to China in a second. Do I want a 2-year-old Taycan at half price?
Dude,
Because
they're so cheap now.
Because it's like, we've done this thing with the Bentley of could I drive this Bentley for less money for a year than if I had just leased something? But what everyone really wants to know is a Taycan at half price a good deal?
Yeah, I think it is.
You think so?
The new one's significantly better.
I know.
Unless, like, if you're just using it as a commuter around town and you're not doing big trips, the old one's amazing. It's really, really great.
So what makes the new one that much better?
So the new one, we just did cumulatively across all of our testing, 20,000 miles in the new car. We did a bunch. Drove it all around Europe and the U.S. for all of our testing, and it was amazing. It's really cool. It does 320 kilowatt peak, maybe like 325, and it holds 300 kilowatt to 65%.
Okay,
so
that's pretty good.
The magic.
Okay,
we broke the cannonball with it again just to kind of show the difference between the old and the new car, and it was hours difference across the country. It's like an amazing road tripper, better thermals, better suspension with active ride.
Yeah, active ride's sick.
It's so cool.
But do you want a Sport Turismo from 2022, at half price without active ride? I think at $65,000, I think you do.
And I think they're going to be even less than that in no time.
Yeah.
I don't think they're coming back.
No.
And there's just trajectory is down. And that's a great thing as a consumer because those are incredible cars.
Yeah, it's a tough thing to process, owning one. Because it just seems like if something happens that's bad, it just seems like it can be so expensive.
Yeah, I mean
to
the
be
Germans
stuck with it.
Are like their failure modes on their cars are rough. Like there's this guy in like Ukraine who gets all these Taycans in that were crashed and rebuilds them, or something happens to the battery, and he's really really good with it. But there are significant problems with these early Taycans from a battery standpoint that the new one seems to, at least I'm told, fix quite a bit of.
Do you think by the time they got to Cross Turismo, which was already like a year and a half into production, that they sorted that to the point where that car, like, I'm talking about a car with 10 to 15,000 miles. I'm not talking about 50 or 100,000 miles.
The miles
can
don't
that
seem
be
to
trusted? No?
Yeah, the miles I wouldn't worry about.
It's just which day it was built on.
Just I don't even know, but there's like random battery failures, and maybe it's whenever you're in like owners groups of cars or you research them, like people don't talk when their car's great. They only post when there's issues with it.
Right.
But I think you just the warranty's long, 8 years on the battery.
Yeah.
Get a CPO 1, 2, whatever, and they're amazing. Just don't buy a first year one. I would get 2021 or newer. If the car supports plug-in charge,
maybe we'll
then
do
it's good.
that. Yeah, maybe. Yeah, you got to have the plug-in charge.
Yeah, the first year doesn't have it.
Yeah, that's no bueno.
It's retrofittable.
I would only buy a Cross Turismo anyway.
Yeah. Then you're fine.
Yeah.
I mean, I was trying to get my dad to get one of those.
They're fucking rad.
Yeah, they're
so
cool.
nice, and you don't just the base one. Like you don't need the fucking all the power. Like the regular power.
They went for the Macan electric, so that's what my mom is driving now. And
does she like it?
She loves it. Yeah, she went from a Model Y to that. So it's a big step up from ride quality and the whole car. She's really thrilled with it.
Yeah.
It's not as nice as the Taycan though.
I had one on order. I ended up not taking it. It was too expensive of a car.
They're too much money.
If everything was what it cost in 2021, then it would be fine. But that's not how everything else works. Now, pick your $50,000 electric crossover for no money.
The move is either lease one right now, especially where we live in Colorado. The lease deals are crazy. Dude, you can get a free Fiat 500e. It's 0 down, 0 a month.
What
You
what
just
do you
pay
mean?
Taxes up front.
Seriously?
Yes.
What?
Yeah. 500es are free in Colorado right now.
I'll take one.
Yeah, you got to register it there because that's where you get all the state credits and
Oh,
everything.
you have to register it in Colorado.
That's where you get the state credit. Yeah, I'm sure you could find the deal online, but there's literally $0.
Can I register to your house?
No, I mean, I think I would be cool with it, but you need like a utility bill in your name or something.
All right,
Yeah.
sure. Can I? Fuck.
So this is $62 a month. Maybe that includes tax.
The taxes, yeah.
Yeah, but we did this thing with Leafs.
Have you driven one of those yet? A
Yeah.
500e?
Yeah.
Is it all right? But
For free,
for
Sarah's,
fucking
it's way better than a Leaf. or
under
something.
$100 a month.
Yeah, so we did a Leaf deal. I think we sold like 100 in a day at our local dealer. It was 500 down, 19 a month. Wow. And that was, I got one for my dog sitter. I'm like, dude,
Seriously?
Thanks for watching the dogs. Here's a Leaf. Then it bricked on him. He hated EVs. He's like an old Buick, has an old LeSabre, Danny. Oh gosh, we did a whole video series with it.
Like you announced the deal, like to help promote the Nissan dealership or something.
Yeah, well, I was just
that?
like, we went and got this. You should go get one too. And the dealer's like, oh, maybe like a few people will show up. Dude, there were people like knocking the door down the next morning. It was crazy. We met so many viewers. It was fun. If you were there, nice to see you.
How many people bought Leafs?
Over 100 in a day. I mean,
No
they were like
way.
getting them from other dealers. They were pre-selling ones that were at the port that they were trying to get in.
That's awesome.
It was crazy. But Danny, we got him one, and he hated electric cars. And I'm not sure he's convinced. The Leaf's not a great one to convince you.
Yeah.
But the whole car bricked at 400 miles. Leafs are generally pretty reliable.
Yeah.
And it
My
died.
buddy, poor guy, he lemoned his Rivian R1S. It had an issue. It had terminal pull to the right. It pulled to the
Really?
right super hard. They couldn't fix it.
What was it? A quad motor?
Yeah. And
But a Gen 1.
No, yeah, it was like what they were selling like 8 months ago.
Okay,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. An S quad.
Yeah.
Lemoned it, but got the new one. Got a try. He just got it. He put 400 miles on it, and it went into fucking limp mode. And while he was in Mexico, by the way, it
no
went into
way.
limp mode. And he thought he's like, he hits us up. What's turtle mode? I can't go over 50. And I was like, oh shit, dude. He figured out how to trick it into going over 50. He got it back to wherever the service center. He's down in San Diego, and they said they have to replace the entire suspension. The truck had 400 miles on it.
Dude,
It was not great.
that is not.
And I was like, oh, I have one for review this week. He's like, yeah, tell him to fucking take this one. He's like, I don't want this thing back. I was like, fuck.
That's crazy.
No.
Yeah, I've had a couple issues with the new Rivians. The Gen 2 is pretty rough in my opinion from an improvement over the Gen 1. R1S gets a suspension improvement, but charging performance didn't get any better, which was my main issue with it before. I wish it did better, basically. Gen 2, we gave it a pretty scathing review.
I remember really liking the truck, except that it wouldn't fit in my garage because it was too long. And going, if the SUV must be unbelievable. And I don't really feel that way
Truck's
after
better.
driving. The truck is actually better other than being too long.
Yeah, it's like originally they tuned the suspension and the whole thing around that longer
Yeah,
wheelbase. And
yeah.
it's like a foot longer.
It's a lot longer.
Big difference. And
Yeah.
they adapted the new one, blah, 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 put a heat pump in it, all these things. But it just, to me, it was a cost-cutting thing, the Gen 2 for Rivian, to save money for their bill of materials.
Sure.
And the customer, like the door handles feel worse. The heat pump makes noise when it's cold. It's buzzing away, shaking the whole car. Charging performance literally got worse.
I drove it in this morning in like the cold,
Yeah.
and it didn't heat up that fast.
Oh, yeah, the heating performance is worse than the old ones, too.
It's not great.
Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
They have a lot of improvements to go. I'm going to go over and visit their engineering labs. After we did the review, they're like, come over and meet with everyone. I'm like, yeah, I really want to.
But it feels like it's screwed together really nicely. Excuse me.
Yeah, Rivians are. Have you driven the new quad motor?
No,
Okay, yeah.
I haven't.
I did dual, tri, and quad on track same day. We did.
Track.
Well,
Jesus.
That'd be
so
fun.
we were doing Motor Trend SUV of the Year. I was joining for that program as a guest thing. And so I was like, great, I'll do dual, tri, and quad. It was really interesting to see the difference. The dual motor is the best one. Get the base R1S.
Why is that?
LFP battery, best charging performance out of the bunch, best thermals. The dual motor just felt so happy and natural to slide. The problem with the tri and quad, in my opinion, well, the quad we drove was super early, pulled hard to the right, massive amount of torque steer in the quad.
Oh, well, I wonder if this is what was happening with my buddy's
but
car.
the Gen 1s never did it, so it must have been different. But the new one was like early pre-pro prototype B. I can't imagine it would make it to series like that. They also don't upgrade the brakes for the faster ones.
Oh.
Which is like,
Well, it's good that
them.
the dual motor is the best because it's also the cheapest.
Yeah, so buy the base R1S LFP, like base battery pack, everything. That's the one to go for.
Huh.
And then you can full charge it every day, and it's great.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's good to know. Okay, so we've. I want to talk about cars, not Teslas, using the Tesla charge plug now.
Yeah.
And how that is going, and what cars are good and bad at that specific task. What is your experience charging non-Teslas on superchargers?
Should we start with the bad first?
Yeah, sure. Shit
So
on stuff.
There's a lot of
Cut
problems.
clip now.
There are a lot of problems with this NACS transition. Technically, it's now called J3400.
Oh, they gave it a J, huh?
It's got a J name, so official SAE J3400, and it's it's really honestly a disaster. However, I think we all needed to converge on one plug.
Of course.
And so I was, at the time, before any of this happened, I was really pushing for everyone, let's just go CCS.
Me
that
too.
Was the most
they were
amount of
doing it in
cars.
Europe and like.
Yeah. Well, the CCS Europe's totally different. They use 3-phase CCS2 without a latch. That's the best one. If we could have all just gone CCS2, that would have been a great solution. None of this would have ever happened.
Cool. Another way. Point for Western Europe. Okay,
Right.
cool. Check.
So J3400. So what's happening with this? Essentially, we're all pretty much moving to the port. The port's better. It's a nicer port. It's easier to interface. It has a really nice design. The CCS ones, generally, it's hard to totally interface it into. A lot of people think because we're moving to the Tesla port, the cables are going to be thinner and lighter, but they're not.
No.
It's going to be the same cable that you see on Electrify America or EVgo, just with a Tesla plug at the end. So they're still going to be hard to wrangle.
Why do people? Because on Tesla chargers they are.
Yeah, so Tesla will over boost their cables by quite a bit. And
Oh yeah, we talked about that with Ali. Yeah.
yeah. So that's one interesting thing. The problem with other cars using superchargers is superchargers currently don't support high voltage. So every supercharger is limited to 500 volts, which means if you bring your
Wait,
R1S...
what?
Yeah. If you bring your R1S, if you bring a Mustang Mach-E or an F-150 Lightning or some normal low-voltage electric car, they charge natively with the supercharger network just like any other DC charger. If you bring a Taycan or a Lucid or an Ioniq 5...
So you're talking about 900 volt, anything over 400 volt.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's where high and not high is.
Yeah,
okay.
in our world, yeah. So like
Okay.
above 500 volts, technically, like in that 800 volt class, you'll hear that.
Yeah.
But no car is like exactly 800 volts. It's
Yeah.
just, are you a 400 volt class or an 800 volt?
Mm-hmm.
Like Hyundai Kia will say their EV9's 800 volt, but it's really 530 volts or 550. So it's just what side of the 400 are you on?
All right.
And those cars have to use boosting technology on board the vehicle in order to charge.
Okay.
So, as an example, let's take a Taycan. You take a Taycan to a Tesla supercharger, and there's many superchargers now that have the Magic Dock adapter built in. There's a handful that are open to everyone already. So even though Porsche doesn't have Volkswagen Group doesn't have the native access yet, you can still use some stations. You plug it into a supercharger, and it has to kick on an extra module in the car that basically takes the power from the supercharger at low voltage and steps it up to the pack, to the battery pack.
Okay.
So there's many different technologies on how to do this.
And would that work the same if you plugged into like a 50 or a fucking a level 2 or some other kind of CCS charger? Or this is just for Tesla chargers?
Yeah, there's very few CCS chargers left that are low voltage only. There's a
Okay.
couple 50 kilowatts out there.
Yeah.
But pretty much anything over 50 kilowatts supports up to 1,000 volts or
Got it.
950.
Okay.
So a Lucid at a supercharger and Lucid Air can only charge at 50 kilowatts, 45.
That's not great.
Right.
So it's emergencies only.
For that car, it's emergencies. Taycans can do about 130. Macan can do about 130. They have completely different ways of interfacing, by the way. And Cybertruck, when you charge it at a supercharger, Cybertruck's 800 volts. It, just like Macan, splits the battery in half. So it goes into split pack.
Okay.
So it's, essentially you'll have you have two separate sections of your battery that are wired together in parallel. Then with the Cybertruck, while you're charging, it's low voltage. Then when you unplug, they switch back to series configuration and go to high voltage.
Weird.
Yeah, Hummer does it for fast charging. So the Hummer does it the opposite way. Silverado, etc. So when you drive those trucks around, they are operating at like 350 volts nominal, because the rest of the Ultium stuff is designed to work with Equinox and Blazer and all the motors. So they work with low voltage stuff. But to get the high power charging, when you plug into CCS, you'll hear a ka-chunk, and now the Hummer EV is high voltage to charge faster.
Okay.
So that's a problem with this supercharging thing. Is currently Tesla does not natively support 1,000-volt architecture to charge every vehicle at its maximum capacity, and they require vehicles to have boosting technology on board.
So, getting the headline that you're opening your supercharger network to everybody is a fantastic amount of good press that you're getting. How much real-world good is that actually done?
So far, they've only opened it up, or the automakers that have worked with Tesla to actually get full access are low-voltage cars. So it's worked pretty well so far. And I think Ford owners, it really happened because of Jim Farley and the Ford getting access. And it's been a huge enabler for Rivian trips and Ford trips and et cetera, et cetera. Volvo Polestar now have access, and a few others. So that works really well. The question comes with Hyundai. They're the first ones to put the physical port on their car.
Yeah.
And that's a car that cannot charge very fast at superchargers. So
it's actually more annoying to use the chargers that it can charge fast at.
Yes, because you need an adapter now to use EA.
But is EA going to be forced to switch to the other cables?
Yeah, I think 50% by sometime next year EA will switch to NACS or something like that.
Yeah.
So the problem with the Hyundai situation is they'll charge at about 130 kilowatts now, the brand new ones with the native ports. The old ones will only do about 80 or 100 or so kilowatts at the supercharger network. But now you're selling a car that's known for its fantastic charging performance, and there's a handful of chargers in the whole country that can natively charge it fast.
Yeah.
Without an adapter.
Yeah.
And that to me just seems they should have held off for a little while, I think.
It's hard to be an automotive journalist and talk about this stuff because it's real deeply nerdy and about something that isn't like a recreational thing. It's not like we're talking about track performance. We're talking about things that dictate how easy or hard this car is to use in situations where that thing matters, but in a way that is technical far beyond the capability of the average person.
And even the average
Not capability,
journalist.
that's the wrong word, but
knowledge base.
The knowledge base.
Yeah.
And even the average journalist, even including an experienced journalist like me.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we see it where a lot of our friends in the industry will call me up and be like, why am I charging here? And I'm like, well, here's the 5 different possibilities as to why. And it's really, I really am trying to get everyone on the same page here of voltage, amperage, charging infrastructure. To me, charging performance matters just as much as track performance.
It probably matters more to people that are buying these cars. To me, how an EV behaves every day is way more important than how it behaves on the fucking track. I have not been convinced that I want to take an EV to the track, even though I've taken an Ioniq. I've driven all the best ones on the track.
Yeah, you were the shoe for your thing this year.
Yeah,
that was cool.
it was. I mean, it was fun. The only way it could have been better is if it wasn't EV of the year.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah.
That's not the
Although
thing.
I want to join on the next one. That looked really fun.
It was fun, and it's not. I just just trying to set a very fast lap time in an EV is a very difficult thing to do. And unlike a fucking gas car, you can't practice it and then do it because you're literally burning off the car's performance. I mean, Jethro, who admittedly is the #1 driver at the magazine in the gas cars for Performance Car of the Year, he gets to do a bunch of practice laps.
Yeah.
And he's not there is a fixed number of laps he's supposed to do with each car. But it's not like, lap 4 is going to be, you don't have 50 less horsepower than lap 2,
Yeah, it's a good point.
challenging.
The tracking thing. So on the charging side, you have cars that natively don't interface with the network, the high voltage
Right,
ones.
yeah.
Version 4 charging has been long promised from Tesla, and it's long overdue. And I think it's really a shame how long it's taken them to get it out. Finally, they just announced it like a month or two ago. Native high voltage charging, 500 kilowatt output per port, but it is a load shared situation.
Is that them planning for the future of their vehicles, that they want to have more high voltage, or is it just because there are going to be so many other cars from other companies that are using high voltage? Because it seems like Model 3 and Y and S are these low voltage systems, right?
Yeah. Well, Cybertruck today is high voltage.
Right.
I don't know what the rationale. I'm sure it's a mix of both. I mean, the future is higher voltage without question for sort of the higher end cars. And in China, they're 900 volts. You know, a couple cars are. Lucids go up to 924 full. Like the real class leading stuff is very high voltage. And then you have other issues with version 3 superchargers. The last big one that I'll hit you with and not bore you because I could talk for 9 hours on this one. This is the cable overheating problem.
And this relates back to thin cables.
Yeah, so Teslas, as you know, because you've tested them and charged them and driven them, they charge really fast for a very short period of time.
Right.
So when you plug in at 5%, boom, 250 kilowatts, it'll rip for like a couple minutes, and then they have a really awful charging curve, all of them. And they'll come right down to, by the time you're at 50%, you're at 100 or 150 kilowatts, like significantly under your peak performance. Mm-hmm. When you plug a Silverado into the supercharger network, that's a 200-plus kilowatt-hour battery pack that is staying in low voltage mode, by the way.
Holy shit, is that thing 200-plus kilowatts? It really is.
Silverado Hummer 215, usable. Wow. Yeah, and God, charging, you're putting in more because there's losses. So a 0 to 100 charging session is like 230, 240.
God damn.
And, it could be like a $100 charging session.
You really you probably noticed that on your home electric bill pretty significant. Like most EVs... And I don't mean to sound elitist, because if you track every single dollar on your electric bill, then maybe you would notice.
Yeah.
But if you have like a single family home and a family and you're running computers and refrigerators and things like that, and it's not something that you think about budgeting constantly, the truth is you don't really notice charging your EV at home.
Yeah, it also depends on your area.
Yeah, but it's not a crazy amount of money.
No.
But with a pack that size, you might actually notice it. It's so much juice.
It's not even the size, it's the efficiency. Because regardless of the size, you have to replenish the electricity.
Right.
So the less efficient your car is, the more, just like a combustion car, you're just paying for it at home.
Yeah.
And like where I live, I pay dirt cheap electricity, don't care. But here in Southern California, it can get very expensive.
Yeah.
Especially during the wrong hours. And then you're like paranoid about what hours can you charge your car.
Right.
And you have to set everything up in the back end. And it's like that. This just needs to get solved right away so we don't have to worry about demand load profile from the average user.
I'm going to turn my piss into electricity, bro.
Right.
Wait, I got a tank. I don't have a plan yet, but I'm peeing in a tank every day. And eventually, I'll run my car on that piss.
Yep. It's like half of our audience right there, by the way. So sorry, guys.
I mean, it's a
good if I can, I'll just like make a bomb out of it or something. I don't know. Turn it into drugs. I don't really know. I haven't got that far. I'm just peeing in jars, man.
Dude, I see some wild stuff in our comment sections, and you're not far off, which is scary. But yeah, so you've got that Silverado sitting there in low voltage mode because the Tesla doesn't support it, and high voltage, and it's just sitting at 500 amps for like 40 minutes, and it can't do that. The cable, so the version 3 supercharger with those little thin cables, they're 350 amp nominal. So that's what they're rated for. They'll run all day, all
and this thing's running at 500.
Well, the Teslas will run at 700 amps. But it works fine because they hold it for a tiny bit of time and then they come down.
Yeah.
But as soon as you need to support other cars, now you'll plug in, you'll sit at 500 amps for a while, and then it'll just prematurely derate. So then the supercharger network can't even deliver the charging performance because of the cables. So that's been solved with the new version 4 dispenser. So there's evolutions to this. Mm-hmm. But it just feels like what would have been a better plan, I think, with Tesla would be, hey, we know we're going to open the network, or we know we're going to eventually build cars with better charging performance or whatever, and put all that stuff in first so that when you let everyone use the network, it actually works really well.
That would have been nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But this company seems like a real hamster wheel type of fucking outfit, doesn't it?
Yeah,
You know?
I definitely follow it closer than most, and half the stuff that goes on, I'm like, wow, that's not how I would do it, or that's
Your
crazy.
car came missing a bunch of things.
Yes,
you know,
it did.
like they could have waited until they had those things to deliver the car. Baby, just saying.
It went in for my Cybertruck went in for service a couple weeks ago, and
No, it didn't. That's fake news. Electric cars, they never
they're
need to be
perfect?
serviced.
Yeah.
No,
But
he said they never need to be serviced ever.
They
He said
definitely
it.
do.
The king decreed.
They replaced the whole side panels on my truck.
What? Why?
I saw the service bill, and it was, it's warranted. I didn't even know they were doing
Side
that.
panels.
Yeah, so you know that like the triangle upper piece.
Yeah,
that
I
you
remember
saw it
because
was
it
off.
fits so well.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure it's because
yes.
of our reviews. I don't know. I hadn't heard them doing that for other ones, but they were like, oh, we put new side panels on your truck. I'm like, you replaced the side
And
of my
was yours
truck?
wrapped?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was gonna say if they replaced it, and it was like it
I
was
wonder
wrapped.
what they would have done.
Yeah.
That's a great
Wrapped.
point.
Well, they're starting to
Just
offer
put
wraps
metal
in the
like
shop.
that.
It's just one piece. Oh yeah, we got a new panel.
Was it this thing, right?
Yeah, it's that
okay.
sort of
that
A-pillar.
bit's
Yeah, I
not
remember
great.
that on yours. Yours was poking out like 2 mil on the left
Every
side.
few weeks, I'd push the panel in, reach in, hand tighten the bolt under there, and then it'd be fine till it backed itself off again.
I like that you have to do things on a 2024 model year vehicle that you would do on a 1968 Morgan Plus 4.
This is Royal. This is
It's great
This is
content.
Royal Enfield ownership.
Dude, when the car breaks, any car, that's the best day at the office.
Yeah, if Kyle buys it, run.
Yeah.
He knows some shit's gonna go
It's
down. He's just waiting.
fantastic video content.
Yeah, if you see Kyle or Freddie buying one of the fucking get out.
I saw Freddie got a Roadster, an original Tesla Roadster. I don't know what
did
the
he?
deal is. I just seen the thumbnail, but I gotta watch it.
I mean, he Freddie, if you're fucking out there, come pick your shit box up from my South Bay store.
What does he have there?
Fucking Freddie hits me up and goes, hey, you know that Rudy Klein auction? That's the junkyard auction from downtown LA. He's like, I bought something. Can you get it? And like, I'll send a truck, in a couple of weeks. And it shows up. And this is by far the worst Audi Quattro coupe I have ever seen. It looks like there was a real fire happening in there.
Really?
It's
Yes.
not good.
It's like a mid-'80s one or
Yeah,
whatever?
early 80s. Yeah, not
fire
like a special
happened.
short wheelbase
What the heck could
Stig
you be doing with this
Blomqvist
thing?
one.
Yeah.
Like one that some professor at the fucking University of Berlin drove for a couple of years. Like
It's
it's
just
not
ratty.
a good one. It's
Okay.
just a very shitty old Audi.
I'm fascinated by the YouTuber cars situation. I love it. It's
I mean,
so cool.
I totally get what Freddie's doing here.
Yeah.
But not with the Audi. I get what he's doing with almost everything, up to and including the P1, although I think his math was bad on that one.
It makes for good content.
But the rest of it, but this one, it's like the upside is you have a nice, like, pretty shitty Audi.
Okay, yeah, cool. Like I can justify any car by content. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Did you see? Speaking of car, did you see Shaq? His 2-door Lucid Air.
Yeah, he got it painted and took the B pillar out and put a long door on it.
Long door.
Yeah.
I actually think it looks kind of good.
Looks great, and the wheels are choice. I love it.
Did you see it, Zach? I turning a Lucid into a
Dude, this looks like a
personal
CL.
luxury
Yeah.
coupe.
Yeah.
It
Did you
really
say that?
does
Sorry.
look like a CL.
Yeah, that looks awesome.
It's sick.
Wow.
Just needs to be a drop top.
It's actually like really not bad, and the wheels look good, and the color is right. The matched roof is
actually,
great.
I don't know. That might be a factory color. Now that I think about it, I think they offer Zenith Red is the name.
I am into this. I miss the era of Shaq going long wheelbase sports car. Remember the Gallardo in the 360?
Yep.
He stretched
Yep.
like a foot. That's an excellent job, well done. Mark Zuckerberg and his fucking his Cayenne minivan are an abomination compared to
He
this.
did the
Remember
Turbo
that?
GT minivan.
Yeah.
But then also got a really nice GT3 Touring, which
Well, that's
offset
fine.
it. Yeah.
But imagine. Let me ask you this, Kyle. Do you think that in Zuckerberg's Turbo GT minivan, do you think they reprogrammed the rear steer appropriately, or do you think
If it was Exhibit, it was done to the highest standard and the best quality of engineering.
Imagine what happens
'Cause it
when
was
you
West
go
Coast
into
Customs,
a
right?
corner. with that rear steer.
Dude, it must be I'm just trying to figure out beyond rear steer, like how the ESP calibration would handle stuff. It must be all fucked up. Yeah,
fucked up.
Think about the wiring looms too. Like, cars are complicated now.
Yeah. It's a turbo GT. It's got like 3.5 degrees of negative camber at the front.
Why wouldn't they do the boxy one? Just get a Turbo S, not the GT slopey thing.
I do not understand. It's all dumb. That's all.
It
dumb.
really didn't even look good. I hate to judge other people's builds, but I was not into that particular one.
No, and the problem was he was all, Priscilla wanted a minivan, so I built her this. It's like, you missed what she wanted in...
That'd be so funny. She walks out, she's like, I just wanted an Odyssey.
I just wanted, yeah. Just the one with the vacuum.
No, they should have just put a Demon engine or whatever in a Pacifica.
Yeah.
And then there you go.
That actually would have been the right move.
Yeah.
Hellcat, a Pacifica,
Yep.
There's your van.
Absolutely.
Yeah. That's actually the correct move.
Also, if Stellantis wants any chance at survival, they need to do that. I just drove their electric thing. It was so bad.
Speaking of Freddie, wasn't Freddie going to do that? Didn't he buy a van and was going to he bought a van and was going to put a Hellcat powertrain in the Pacifica?
They'll sell you like a Hellcat.
He was going to do that.
Okay.
That was like a thing. I don't know. Okay. I'm going to get back to
I'm
him.
sure someone's done it.
He's too busy repimping autos. I don't know. Where were we?
We're superchargers, negatives.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Who's handling the Tesla Superchargers the best? Don't say Tesla.
Ford.
Ford?
Because they don't charge that well.
Oh, yeah.
So they're not overheating.
Yeah, they're only running $150 anyway.
But the problem is their ports are so far back. You got to like pull that thing right up.
Oh yeah.
So apparently there's like extension cables in the works, which sounds scary to me. And I'm like, you got to have good temperature monitoring, and I don't know. The whole thing's kind of a mess right now. Which honestly, the quicker it happens, the sooner we can get through it. The quicker we can get to native ports, the better it'll be. That's the end of the story. But Tesla needs to get high voltage charging out as soon as possible.
Yeah. I'm excited to have an emergency backup. That's really all I want. Is like, if I can't get to the charger I want and there's a supercharger there.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's a great way to look at it.
Because it's, we talked about this before. I don't have range anxiety. I have infrastructure anxiety.
Yeah.
I know where that charger is. I just can't be sure it'll work when I get there.
Totally.
Has that gotten a lot better?
Yes.
In our experience, it's improved a lot.
Yeah. So we just actually, as sort of an infrastructure test, as a video series, I don't know, we raced 10 electric cars across the country. I saw that, yeah. It's called the I-90 Surge. We've done it before with like trucks on the low one, but we took the longest range and fastest charging EVs and went Seattle to Boston nonstop. And not a single person was stranded. Going across the whole country, arriving at 0% at many charging stations. Every single station provided power, and in general, most of them provided full power on the first try. And there was a handful of problems, of course, that I think you're going to be, expected to have issues with. And the Surge is on the out of spec motoring channel, not the reviews one.
Sorry, it's on my 32nd.
I'll go to one of your 9 channels. I'm so sorry, Kyle.
But it doesn't matter. But anyway, so that series did great for us. It was really fun. Had a bunch of friends go. And
was it really a charging speed and infrastructure test in the sense of, okay, everyone has to keep it at 85 or under on the highway? So it's not a highway race.
No. We kept it to strict maximum speed limits of no more than 10 over the speed limit, and in 80 zones no more than 85.
Okay.
So it was literally 85 maximum.
Yeah, okay.
And then it really comes down to the cars. So if you have a long range one, you can go farther up front. But then if you have a fast charging one, will you catch it?
Yeah.
And it was really interesting, the results. So we actually ran, so there was technically 8 competitors, and then we had 2 outliers. We had a first-generation Tesla Model S, which was the first sort of long-distance capable EV. So I wanted to see how much improvement we have.
Yeah, that's a good one.
And we took a gas car.
Okay.
And the Taycan won by like a lot, by hours.
Even against the gas car? No, that can't be right.
Correct. Not against the gas car.
Taycan won by hours.
Yep. So it was gas car, and then like an hour and 40 minutes behind that was Taycan across the whole country.
That's actually pretty good. It
was amazing.
That's pretty good.
And then like
how much? What did you drive?
i7.
Okay. All right.
I knew it was going to suck. I mean, the car's amazing, but I knew it was going to suck for performance.
Yeah,
but I just wanted the massaging
Okay, so
seats.
Taycan was the best EV, and is that like a rear wheel drive long range, or is it all wheel drive long range?
Nope, rear drive. We got to get the full range spec. All of them actually. Every single car there except for the Model S, was spec'd in their maximum road trip configuration, which we put this thing together like 6 weeks or 5 weeks before the test. We hounded all the automakers to get us the specs we needed, and they made it happen. It was amazing. So shout out to all the automakers that took part, which is almost all of them.
So what was the gap between Taycan and the last place EV?
Over 10 hours.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah,
that's a lot.
And then, maybe the last place, because that was the Model S. We have somewhere the list of it, but...
The last place EV was the old Model S?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, by a lot. That was like overnight.
So what about that car didn't work today?
Yeah. So the old Model S doesn't really have the range initially. So they were one of the first ones to stop. And their charging performance, they can peak.
Was it like at least like an 85 plus or something like that? Okay.
Yeah, full range spec. And it actually had the newer Aero wheels on it.
Okay.
So a slight advantage. The problem is the charging performance. So when that car launched, it actually charged pretty well. But one of the downsides of software updates is your car can get worse. Of course, it can get better. But you always mentioned this, that it could get worse.
It can.
And it did.
I mean, and you don't need a fucking electric car to know that. Phones get worse.
Yep.
If you have
And
a
they
phone
lose
that's
performance.
3 or 4 years old, it's slower than it was when it was new.
And that's exactly what happened to this Model S. And the charging performance is nowhere near as good as it was when it first came out. And that was also cool to kind of show that.
Yeah.
And so it peaks at 130 kilowatts, which is faster than when it was new, but it holds it till 8%.
Oh.
So you got to plug in 0.
Yeah.
And then it just, and then at 50%, you're at like 40 kilowatts. It's like dead.
So that's only for plugging in at home and running errands around town, pretty much.
Yeah, that car can do a trip. It did a trip. Has free lifetime charging, whatever, that worked. But no adaptive cruise, none of that stuff. So shout out to the team that drove that. Second place.
Yeah, the terrible fucking job.
Second place was the cheapest car there, which was the new Model 3 long-range rear-wheel drive.
Oh, okay.
Which Tesla actually sent us a car for that, for the whole thing, which I was really kind of surprised with, because we're hard on Tesla.
They sent us a car for Performance EV of the Year as well, and they sent us one of their head chassis engineers as well, which I was surprised with.
They're getting more involved.
I like the Model 3. I really like that it feels like the size of a car from the 90s, and like the visibility. I was talking to Zach earlier, I was like, it's like an E30, like really good visibility, really low cowl. Like it's such a fucking, like a cool little thing compared to all these other like, big boats.
It just sucks there's no competition for the price.
Yeah.
That's what really drives me nuts. And that's why those Chinese EVs are.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm so excited about them. Because it's like, it's not just Tesla doing this. There's other good cars for the money. So Model 3 was second. Third place was Ioniq 6, the second cheapest car there. Amazing charging performance, good efficiency.
Can't do it. Too weird looking.
Yeah.
Just too weird.
Technically, the Ioniq 6 is faster in our simulated tests than the Model 3, but the chargers are farther off the highway than the Superchargers.
Oh, yeah.
They were
it all
within
matters.
15 minutes on a 3,000-mile journey, and they both pushed
That's
hard.
pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, the Lucid, we expected to be a little bit better, and it was going to come in fourth, but at the last charging stop, the team ran out of charge. They miscalculated right at the end.
Oh.
And the car also, it's complicated, but essentially every single stop and everything we've done with the Lucid showed that it could go 20 or 30 miles past 0.
Oh.
And then after
it didn't?
many cycles, it kind of lost a little bit of, where you were. And they hit 0. As soon as they hit 0, boom, they only need to go a few miles past. The car shut off.
Oh.
So I would have been in the same situation.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
past performance. But anyway, yeah, it was pretty cool, fun trip.
It's a cool trip, and it's a cool thing to show. I think it's really interesting. Does anything learned on that trip really indicate how any of these cars would be to use as everyday cars?
No, it's not an everyday test.
It's a road trip test.
It's a entertainment piece and a great way to benchmark all the cars against each other in an extreme scenario.
Sure.
It's a bit like doing a track comparison, but instead it's a road trip comparison.
I think for a road trip, my choice would be the Taycan.
Yeah,
It's just
clearly amazing.
It's just such a fucking monster on a road trip.
Yeah.
Such a nice car.
So right after this,
and did that have hydraulic suspension too?
No, that was base.
Okay.
Right after this, we turned around and my buddies Timon and Drew joined me. We broke the cannonball New York to L.A. in that one, and we got it under 40 hours for electric.
I'm sure Porsche was stoked about that.
They love it.
They can't say.
They can't
anything.
say, but they loved it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
the rear wheel drive Taycan is like my favorite one. I wish you could get the wagon as a rear wheel drive.
You can
only.
in Europe.
Of course.
Yep.
Of course. And another reason
another-
Western Europe.
I drove one of the
ass.
rear drive ones from Stuttgart to Istanbul this year.
Oh,
it was
man.
amazing, that trip. Best thing I've ever done.
That's fucking cool.
Yeah, I was like charging in like the back of some like babushka's house in some random
That's
place.
crazy.
And it was so cool.
Wow, that's fucking.
Yeah. We took 4 Taycans.
That's a
on the
lot
trip.
of unknowns.
Yeah, that was the point.
Yeah.
It was amazing. It was so
Did the
cool.
car find those chargers, or are you using apps over there?
Mostly apps.
Yeah.
Yeah. You leave the Porsche charging network after Serbia. And then you're going through like Bulgaria.
Please
looking for stuff.
acknowledge you are leaving the Porsche network to unknown territories. Yeah.
Worked really well though. It was it's just the guy who runs Taycan
Yeah.
comms, Mike. He was just like, I want to go on a road trip with my buddies, and had like a couple media from around the world come.
That sounds fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved it.
And obviously, you got your hair done while you were there. Let's go to the people. The Patreon, they have a lot to say today. And, of course, if you want to ask questions for the program, if you want to talk to the guests, if you want to get the show ad-free, get it ahead of everybody else, get it what else do they get, Zach? Exclusive merchandising collabs.
Do that. You
a
can
whole
watch
lot
the show
more.
live. You can get ad-free stuff before it goes out to the public.
I put 'em on
you
the
also
spot there, so.
That's fine. And if you go champion tier, you also get ad-free versions of our car reviews.
Excellent. Nice Cams says, when do you think EVs will be seen more regularly at the track? Currently, most clubs I track with don't allow them at all. Not that I would ever want an EV on track, but curious as to when you think they'll become more commonplace. This is a really weird way to write this because it's part of the reason that EVs are banned, I think, from certain club events and track days, I think is really kind of a misunderstanding. And they don't have the appropriate training or maybe the appropriate equipment to fight an electric car fire.
Right.
Funny enough, though, at a track, it's not like that the fire, assuming the person gets out of the car, it's not like the fire is like that likely to like burn the whole place down. You know, so it's weird to me that they're so vehemently against it.
I mean, would the concern be like it would damage the tarmac of the track surface more because it would just burn?
Potentially.
I mean,
right?
it's really so. First of all, the risk of a fire in an electric car is less.
Yes.
But if it happens, which
It's worse.
is very rare, I want to stress, it's almost impossible to extinguish.
Yeah.
And they burn hot, and it's crazy. So, I mean, our local ice racing series in Colorado that a buddy of mine took part in, they just banned electric cars. I don't know if it's because he's been winning this whole time or if it's because they're genuinely
I
concerned.
mean,
But
literally, if you're racing on ice and
Yeah.
it is capable of melting all the
it's
way
like a
through.
snow course. It's not like on a lake or anything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
But-
really?
Yeah.
Oh, well, then that's weird.
I know.
What could happen?
That was my whole thing. I'm like, maybe I'm missing something, but honestly, I've brought electric cars on tens of tracks now, maybe 30 different tracks around the world, and I've never had an issue getting them on there. I've never been like told no.
Yeah.
So I just think it's not such a common thing. Maybe from club events, yeah. But if you want to like rent a track to test or go to a track day, like all of the local tracks I've been to are like electric car. They don't care.
I think it's the rule of the person putting on that track day.
Yes.
Maybe it has to do with their insurance. Maybe they don't want to spend the extra money to have an EV ready fire crew there. You know, whatever.
I mean, this also might be leftover anecdotal evidence. There was a Corvette club, I think, last year, earlier
That
in
said they were gonna
2024,
ban E-Rays.
That said they're banning E-Rays. So maybe this is just
Which
carryover.
is so
from that.
dumb. It's 1.9
it's
kilowatt
just like
hour.
a hybrid.
It's the tiniest little fucking battery. It's so lame.
Yeah. Yeah, because every Mercedes now is 48 volt mild hybrid.
Yeah.
So where do you draw the line?
Yeah. I mean, I do think until we have pretty much trackside charge infrastructure, then it's annoying. But like, I have yet, I mean, and I understand there are hardcore EV track day people, and EVs for certain time attack stuff and Pikes Peak are very well suited.
Yeah.
But I have yet to find, as a recreational track day driver, any EV that I go, there's my track toy right there.
Yeah, I totally agree. Electric cars are incredibly capable in a straight line. Some of them handle really well, but they've never been fun for me.
Yeah.
And never enjoyable on track.
Alex Hay says, could the affordability of used EVs be what gets people into them? Conversely, does having an internal combustion vehicle become a status symbol, similar to a luxury mechanical watch? I do think having knobs, buttons, levers is a status symbol. Look at Pagani, look at Bugatti, look at Koenigsegg, look at these cars that are millions of dollars. What do they have? Fucking knobs and buttons. They don't have one touchscreen that controls everything. A touchscreen is luxury up to about 150 grand, and then it goes off a cliff.
Totally agree. The craftsmanship in the interaction points in the car makes a huge difference to the, just experience going down the road. And if you're looking for an experience, then it's not on a screen, because we touch screens all day long on our phones.
Yeah.
So if you're looking for something different or higher quality, totally agree, physical touch points. Combustion engines become a bit of a status symbol. Certainly in certain markets, they're already there. In Norway, if you drive a combustion car, damn, you paid twice the price for that car, and like you're balling in that thing, and everyone else is driving EV. Totally, and the affordability of used EVs certainly is a great place to start for a first electric car. Like, why wouldn't you get I bought a $3,000 e-Golf just to bomb around town. As an extra car, it's awesome.
If you have the space.
Yeah,
if
the
you
space
have the
is the big
cars
thing.
take up space, cars take up resources, and so if I still believe that the biggest holdback is the availability of charging, reliable charging in multifamily living situations, apartment buildings, etc.
It's a massive problem, and that is a huge issue in urban environments. Multi-unit dwelling charging is insane.
Yeah,
and there's no real good solution yet.
Yeah.
There's like laws that say you can't stop someone from putting in charging, but what stops them is when that's 400 grand.
Yeah. Spencer with a good question. Buying a depreciated EV that has lost a bunch of value since new is a great proposition, but does that bleeding ever stop? Is that depreciation going to continue? This is the problem possibly with that Taycan. Half-price Taycan seems great, but if a half-price Taycan loses fucking 50, 60% of that value in a couple of years, Doug DeMuro was here last week, and he was like, dude, there is no bottom for a Taycan. The bottom is zero.
Yeah, at what point do these things bottom out? And so we've seen some cars bottom out and just sit there for a few years. So like the 500e, the Leaf market, they're all like $5 grand.
Yeah.
Then there's another tier at like 10 grand for i3s and Bolts and some other stuff.
What is that early ass Model S? 15 grand,
yeah,
20?
15,
okay.
Not 20, under 20.
Under 20,
yeah.
Okay.
So I think Taycans will get down there.
Yeah.
I think
there's a floor, but it's low.
The problem with these EVs are, first of all, I just did a video on this actually. There's no third-party built-out service network for them. If your Taycan breaks and you bring it to Porsche, they're going to say you need a $40,000, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 new battery. When it could just be a contactor. That's like a $5
is a problem,
part.
right? Yeah, that is a problem.
Yeah,
Who the fuck is going to work on that?
I mean, a battery doesn't just die. The whole thing never. It's always a subcomponent. And so you get screwed with that.
For eventually, there will be an all-electric M3, and they can say, it makes sense. From a brand perspective, it worked with Mustang Mach-E.
Yeah.
They just do the marketing thing. They're like, M3 is about this, not about gas.
I'm not a good marketing guy. I don't understand how half of it works. I like cool, fast cars, and I'm pretty powertrain agnostic, so I would be cool with whatever they're doing with electric. And I think what BMW is doing now with electric really sucks. From a technical perspective, and what they could do in the future is pretty promising.
Chris N says, who is leading the EV tech race in terms of new tech and thinking outside the box? The Chinese.
Well, so from a powertrain and I would say from a calibration perspective, Lucid is really doing amazing work from making cars that don't run out of steam at speed, that, in general are really nicely tuned. I drove the new Gravity.
Oh, yeah.
And just was so blown away with that thing in terms of handling and power. But it's an SUV. So, and then in terms of software, who's winning? I mean, it's really Rivian, I think, is coming for everyone. Wasim runs the Rivian software team. He's amazing. He's part of that new, also Volkswagen JV. It's crazy to me that Volkswagen could not come up with their own software to run their cars. And they had to hire a Rivian to do it.
not surprised. I think to get that software to get software right, you need a little bit of whimsy that Germans don't have.
Yeah.
You know, I don't think it's got to be like kind of like fun and colorful in a way that they couldn't.
And it's also from an
off.
electrical architecture standpoint, Rivian's got that zonal architecture. So the Gen 2 one that you're driving is fundamentally different than the Gen 1 from an entire electrical system standpoint. Nothing is shared between. It's not like a little facelift. It's like a completely different electrical architecture.
Well, isn't that one of the benefits that VW got by giving Rivian a bunch of money? Like, don't they get this? Like, hey, you are the R&D. We take the tech. We don't need to design it ourselves. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And they get the hardware from Rivian and the tuning and all that stuff. But Rivian's doing incredible things. And the Chinese, they're fast. The development time for Chinese cars is crazy. They're like 16 to 18 months sometimes for some of these cars.
Let's see. Ryan Morris. I think we kind of covered this. Love my Ioniq 5. Never mind. That's the buy versus lease question. I think you pretty much. I think I prefer to lease. If I was a person who didn't create content for a living, I would just lease something in that mid tier. Yeah. That Ioniq.
Great car.
Great, the Mach-E, I happen to think it was a great daily driver. I was not using fast charging very often at home. It was perfect.
Yep.
But maybe I'll buy something for content to see how it goes, like a used Taycan, because a lot of people ask us about used Taycans. Do a lot of people ask you about used Taycans?
All the time. Yep.
Like to the point where it would be worth you buying an early Taycan to see what happens?
No, I don't think so. The Taycan videos don't do that well for us. They do well, but they don't do enough to offset the cost versus like just getting I just leased a new base Model 3 for Jordan, and it's like that has paid for itself 10 times over.
Really?
Yeah. So, from a business case, I don't think plus, if I'm getting a Taycan, I want the new one with the fast charging.
Yeah.
Our audience is interested in bleeding edge. What's the craziest thing? What's the fastest?
Our audience is interested in how they can get the exotic car experience for less money.
Right. What's cool is we have completely different audiences.
Yeah.
And YouTube's been good for you?
No. Okay. Recently,
yeah.
Awful.
Okay.
Awful.
Yeah, I noticed a dip the last few months on our stuff, but it's come back.
We've had a couple of good ones and some not good ones, but it's not been great. Yeah, it's not been great.
So maybe don't buy a used Taycan. I don't know.
Yeah. So I don't know if I want to answer that one. Let's see.
Tim A, thanks for the shout out. Appreciate that.
Yeah. Thanks for the shout out, Tim A. Oh, Clayton Stinger GTS. What do you think of the idea of E-Revs, extended range EVs, sort of like the upcoming Ram 1500, which is an EV that has a gas sort of generator on board? And I happen to think this is very cool.
Agreed. That's the perfect solution. You are a Volt lover, as am I. And my dad actually had an ELR recently, which was really cool. Yeah. And he had a Volt and an ELR.
Did it hold up?
No.
Okay.
He bought it. My dad makes YouTube videos for Out of Spec now, so he bought it for content and sold it. And whatever.
Okay.
It was really cool. The concept of having an electric towing and driving experience is wonderful. When you're cruising around, as you mentioned, the best thing about driving an EV is the no lack of delay, no shifting. You just constant torque wherever you go. If you can pair that driving experience without the worry of extreme inefficiency while towing, and when you get to a charging station having to unhook and charge deep, so it's all bad while towing, then an extended range EV makes perfect sense for a pickup truck application. And the only ones that we've heard of doing it is for Ram so far, but Stellantis sucks at building electric cars.
They're not
really
great.
Suck. That I can't get over how bad that Dodge Charger was. Like
really?
It was offensive. It was offensive.
I saw one about a month ago at Radford, excuse me.
Yeah.
And I think was the launch there?
Yeah, that's where we went.
So I saw an orange one there, and I just looked at it and I went, oh boy, this is not great.
I think it looks good, but I watched the Throttle House review, which mirrors what you said. Yeah. You guys are probably there together.
And I was a different way. But
okay, and they were not, I mean, it's bad.
I couldn't find a single redeeming quality about the car. It was not class leading in any category. It weighs 1,000 pounds more than a Plaid. It makes just over half the power. It's the same money. It's like twice the price of Model 3 performance. It's not fast. It's not fun. It has shit software. The tuning
And it has
was
a shifter
terrible.
that
Tuning
looks
was
like
really
a
bad.
flaccid penis.
You're right.
Pretty-
And the sound
pretty
thing
bad.
was crazy. And dude, it does front wheel drive burnouts. What muscle car? They're like, oh, it spins the tires. I'm like, it spins the wrong ones. What are you doing? And then you drive these Chinese cars that are 40 grand that will wipe the floor of this thing. I'm like, they are getting everything so wrong.
Bro,
over
it's
there.
the 1980s all over again in Detroit. They're back. Deregulation, baby. Let's fucking go.
They just were like, just wait for the gas one. I'm like, yeah, honestly, yes, but don't launch a car like this.
Tim A actually has a good idea there. The exception to EV depreciation, is it the electric G-Wagon? I don't. What do you think?
I don't know. I saw Doug's short. He
Yeah.
was like, he doesn't think it will depreciate.
I think it will split the difference between the excellent depreciation of an AMG GT63 or a G63
Yeah.
and an EV. Like
I
it'll be
can't-
better than a regular EV, but it will not be as good as a regular.
I mean, if you park a 580 electric and a 63 next to each other, most people are still going to go for the 63. So, in the used market, you're essentially doing that same thing. You just might have to drive 10 miles to the next dealer or whatever. Why would most people choose the 63 over the electric? For the same money. They're the same money new.
Yeah.
So, I think it is going to depreciate more. But I love it.
Yeah, I think it'll split the difference between a regular G-Wagon and a regular EV in terms of percentage depreciation.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Last one, Chris Doyle, and then we're getting out of here. And it's a two-parter, and one part sort of combines with Bush drives a 911 part. Question 1, can electric cars ever feel analog? Could one offer the same driving experience as a Radwood-era vehicle? I think fundamentally no.
No, I agree. Probably not.
Yeah.
Also, I'm not really sure why you would want that. In my opinion, if you want a Radwood era vehicle, buy one of those and drive that.
Well, I think what people do want is a new car that is as engaging as that Radwood era vehicle, and they don't
Combustion
want
cars
us.
are getting less engaging.
I know that's a problem too.
Yeah.
That's definitely a problem too, and it's not. I don't think EVs need to solve combustion cars' problem.
Yeah.
But I mean, the thing that makes the Ioniq 5N everybody's favorite EV this year is that they're trying to do an engagement thing, even at the cost of outright speed.
Yeah, so the Ioniq 5N thing, I don't think is engaging enough to fool you. I think it's enough to have fun like a video game, but you know it's not real.
Sure.
And I don't fully understand your point about driving fast with the noise thing. So when I drove the 5N on track, I've had it on 2 different tracks now. And every other electric car, I actually turn all the sound off for setting times or doing something like that. And I always find it to be a bit distracting. But I've heard it from you and many others that I totally respect in the industry that the sound helps with corner entry speed.
Not the sound, the gears.
The gears help.
With corner entry speed. Because
So then normal electric cars with the sound make no difference.
Right. So
Okay.
with silence, the sound isn't what doesn't what do it. It's the gears. So like, if you are trained in gas cars, you go, okay, this is the 3rd gear corner, 4th gear corner, 2nd gear corner, 5th gear corner, et cetera, et cetera. When you're in an electric car, particularly if it's a car like a press car that you don't know
Right, that you're still
super
getting
well,
used to, yeah.
You don't really know how much to brake. For that corner entry, and you have fewer bits of information to choose from.
Yeah,
so that's hard.
The gear thing was cool. I actually used it in traffic, and that's where I loved it the most.
Yeah.
Because I'm boom. I was like, oh, that's pretty cool, and ripped it up the canyon. But it makes the car slower.
In my testing, it was 2 seconds a lap slower with the manual gears, but I did have more fun driving it with the manual gears.
Yeah, sure,
I did
sure.
enjoy it. And if I was doing a track day for fun in that car,
You'd leave it
I
on?
would use them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, but 5N's amazing. They did a great job on that.
They did, yeah.
If they could just take 1,000 pounds out of it, it'd be amazing.
Didn't they do that one that has like no body
Oh,
on it?
that
If they
is
made
like
one
my
that was like a go-kart. It looks pretty sick,
Looks
actually.
so cool. Yeah.
Question 2. Many older vehicles are worth a ton of money. Air-cooled 911s, for example. Will EVs ever be a collector's item and more than a short-term appliance? C. Tesla Roadster. Tesla Roadsters are collectible, although they're the only one.
Yeah, I think That is literally the only one.
Yeah.
I have some like old, like very rare electric cars. I have a couple like first gen RAV4 EVs and B class electric. That's not old enough to be cool, but they're like all like a couple $100. They're like not worth anything.
A Baker is maybe like 10 grand.
Yeah. Well,
know?
there is a Detroit electric. Those go for like $100,000.
Detroit electrics too.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So yeah, I would say yes. Powertrain does not dictate collectability.
But the math isn't great on it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not a guarantee that your car will be not collectible in the same way being internal combustion is not a guarantee your car will be collectible.
Right.
But the math says if you have red hair, you are likely to have blue eyes. You know.
Yep, exactly.
And I wouldn't start collecting them now.
No, don't get any of these ones. We're going through this very weird period of EV, and I'm not exactly sure how it's going to turn out. But now is not the time to buy a new electric car. Like,
Right.
lease one before the year's up. Like I don't know when this show will go up, but
like tomorrow.
Okay, so in Colorado, you can get an EV6 for $150 a month.
Hell yeah.
You can get an EV9 for $300 a month. There's some incredible deals out there. Hummer EVs are $500 a month. Like,
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, if it wasn't such a fucking terrible car, I would consider that.
Oh, they're hilarious. They drive over everything. But you're right; it's not a great vehicle. But like that's the move right now.
Yeah.
But don't buy one because the downside risk of depreciation is just it's so stupid.
Yeah, yeah. Always a pleasure, sir.
Yeah,
And
thank
what
you.
did you think of James May's London fog, London drizzle, London drizzle gin?
Yeah,
What
I'm
do you
not
think?
typically a gin guy, but really enjoyed it. Also knowing it came from the legend James was cool.
It tastes
And,
good.
Thought it was great. Yeah,
even if it came from some other fucking guy named James, it's still very tasty.
Thought it was
gin.
great. Thought it was great.
Out of spec, everything. There's
Yeah.
like 20,000 fucking
Out
channels.
of spec reviews is the main
studios,
one.
reviews.
Yeah, that's where we try to post every day. And so we do like a long video every day on reviews and then stuff everywhere else. And that's, EV nerd stuff. But I have my personal channel if you like combustion cars. I post a lot of combustion cars on there, and it's all fun.
Exceptional.
Yep.
Thank you. Oh, wow. A bad muscle car and a bad electric car. I hadn't seen the headline, but yikes.
I really probably won't go back to another Dodge thing anytime soon.
I mean, listen, calling
But that's
balls
my
and
job.
strikes over there, bro. It's
Yep.
not your fault.
Yeah, totally.
They might not be a company by the next one. So
That's
we'll
what
see.
I keep saying. Anyway.
Thank you, everyone, for listening. Thank you to our patrons for such good questions. Sign up at patreon.com/thesmokingtire. And we will have a cruise show for you for the second half of this week after we go take this motherfucking Rivian up the trail and see how it do. Thank you, everybody, and good night.